Welcome to another episode of Stack Your Points. As always, I'm Matt from the Matt Clausen YouTube channel, joined by RJ from Do You Take Cards. RJ, how are you today?
I'm well. It's Monday. Chase was nice enough to drop a little bit of news before we recorded and not tomorrow morning, which I would have been annoyed as I was editing the show because the news wouldn't have been in there. So I'm glad that they did it at the appropriate time.
So, what you're telling me is you're glad that Chase did something today, whereas Capital One did something Tuesday morning of last week.
Yes. Which,
Okay.
again, if you're going to do it at least Wednesday so it's good prep for the live, don't do it on Tuesday. News should not drop on a Tuesday.
I will respectfully disagree. I need news whenever I can get it.
You know what, Matt? I'm not the EP for your channel. I'm the EP for this channel, so I'm going to put my foot down about Tuesday news.
As the EP for my own channel, I got nothing. All right. We are also hoping to be joined by Call Me Lonnie in just a little bit. Life is lifing for Lonnie. Craig is on assignment. Tariq remains on assignment. So it's just us for now. Hopefully Lonnie will drop in. But yeah. Oh, one other thing we noticed today. Today was WWDC Day. No Apple Card news.
No, you mentioned it in the Discord. Shout out to stackyourpoints.com where you can join our Discord. You mentioned that maybe we would get news. We didn't. I don't know who's taking them. Somebody mentioned Capital One in another Discord I was in, thinking that they might go to the Discover network. I don't know if I can see that. I don't think this person was a credit card person. I think that they were like looking at the major carriers and are like, "Oh, we'll see if Capital One on Discover wants to take the Apple Card." The Apple system doesn't work well with Amex or Discover, so the Apple Card being a Discover card would be very funny.
They'd have to fix that system real quick. But if anyone could do it like in a OS update or three, it would be Apple. Also, all of your OS devices are going up from 18 to 26. There's just six versions. They're just completely throwing into the wind. And fun fact, the 26 doesn't even make any sense.
It does. It's like a car. It's the next year. It's the year that it goes into. So 25,
Is
26 gets
that
dropped.
the rationale that they're using?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I
that's
thought it
exactly why they're
was
using 26.
okay. Because my brain was going, oh, when did Mac OS X become a thing? Mac OS 10, as of
Mm.
not OS X, Mac OS 10 launched in 2021, not in 2021, Jesus, in 2001, off by about 20 years there, Matt. Mac OS 10 dropped in 2001. Okay, I'm like, okay, so that's 24 years. When did Next Step launch? Next Step launched in 1995. Next Step is the predecessor to Mac OS 10. Doing a little bit of Mac history before we jump into credit cards. And Next Step's like last release preview came out in 1997. So like none of the numbers were adding up to me. But OS 26 for the car model year option. Okay. Whole bunch of gearheads there in Cupertino. So this absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm running the tvOS beta, the iPad beta on a iPad Pro and an iPad Mini, a Tahoe beta on my M3 Max and M4 Air. On my phone, which is the camera for this, is the beta, and on my watch. So I have seven total devices that are all running betas. I put everything on a beta, and this is just my life for the next year. And then my life for the next year will be iOS 27 because this is what I choose to do because I apparently like a little bit of torture with my technology.
Full production machines on the beta. That is living right on the knife's edge.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, I downgrade one of the machines to the safe one and just deal with six of the seven on betas.
Yeah. No, I don't foresee it because again, I didn't download the betas today. I don't have a developer account. I will wait for the public beta and I might put one of my devices on the public beta, but it's really hard right now because I only have three devices. So I don't even have an iPad to spare. I don't have another Mac to spare, and I'm not going to go out and buy another Mac just so that I could throw the public beta on a non-production machine. So maybe I'm just going to wait until Tahoe is officially announced. But interesting bit of Mac news across the board. I thought we would see potentially like a one more thing. Oh, and Apple payments. They talked about Apple Pay, and I thought Apple Card would be one of the other things they would talk about. So, a little side quest there to WWDC. Well, let's jump into questions. We've got other side quests as well with other news that has popped up in the last little bit. Chase dropped some news today. Now, we're going to jump into Chase first. We're going to prompt this with Oric's question, which would have been in the mailbag if not for this. But when are we finally going to get a CSR business card? The rumored CSR refresh would be a terrific time. Well, Chase earlier today started their ad campaign for the for the Sapphire Reserve refresh, started their ad campaign for the new Sapphire Reserve business card, and has confirmed that these are launching in summer 2025. We don't know anything about the makeup of the cards. We don't know what part of the leak that came out last month is or isn't true. So the leak is still a leak. It's still a rumor. It's unverified. It's whatever. We now have summer 2025. CSR is getting its refresh, and the Sapphire Reserve business card is coming out. And Chase did this in a very public way. On Instagram, they have launched their new ad campaign with Claudia Schiffer holding the new Sapphire Reserve, and they put up ads in. They've got put up ads now on Houston Street in New York City. They put it in Grand Central Terminal. I have to say terminal here because I said station twice today, and I felt like an idiot because I'm a New Yorker and I should know better.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, Lonnie's not even a New Yorker and he knows better because he lived in New York. He knows Grand Central Terminal.
I am a second. New York is my second home. Spent some years living on the island of Manhattan and in Park Slope, Brooklyn. So yes, New York is my second home.
Yep. They've put it out apparently on LA Transit, according to Reddit. So like they're starting the push. It's weird that they started the push today, but they didn't announce anything. They just said coming summer 2025. So summer 2025 starts now in 10 days, looking at my watch officially. And we could see stuff drop as soon as like next week, as soon as this week, but they've
When does summer
confirmed.
end? I'm gonna go over under, I'm gonna say it's closer to fall than it is anything
Quite
else.
possibly. Summer does officially end on September 20th. So that's fair.
I will say, and I apologize because I can't remember who said it in our Discord, but the rumors are there are biannual credits. So launching it after July 1st so people can't double dip the credits was floated, and I think that's probably closer to why they're launching it potentially when they are. My money is probably end of July, early August because they want to get people while they're still traveling and before the back to school push. I don't think they want their marketing next to back to school ads.
All we have is the wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff that is summer 2025. We officially have summer 2025. That's all that we have that's official. We don't have any other changes to the card. We don't know what the changes to the Sapphire Reserve are. There are changes coming to the card. The card is getting redesigned. It's got like this new textured look, and it seems like it's navy and gold. If you put it in the light, it shimmers gold. That could be interesting. They're
It's
doing this
also
new.
the side of a human torso.
Yes. If the imaging for the ads are to be believed, they're the size of my torso. Just break off a piece of the card to tap it to wherever. Break me off a piece of that credit card, as RJ said in the Discord earlier. So we have that. Again, Lonnie, RJ, there's nothing official besides the confirmation that the refresh is happening and that their business card is coming. Do you guys have any further thoughts here since we don't have a whole lot else to work with?
No, but I would say it's a little bit more official now that there's a sign, there's actual marketing and advertising. None of it actually said if the rumors are true. Nothing has said the rumors aren't true.
Yep.
And so until somebody opens up Schrodinger's box and sees the state of this cat, I'm just going to go and wait. when it comes to the rumors. Now, I feel much easier saying some type of refresh is coming, i.e., there's a design change coming. That could be a refresh. Amex added Dunkin' Donuts credit and made a white card. It was fine. And that was, I don't want to say that was all of it, but kind of all of it. But
Annual fee went up too. Don't forget that part.
and the annual fee went up. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I will have my opinion. I will see if it still fits within my strategy and setup and all that other fun stuff. I'm sure someone's going to ask. If not Matt, someone else will. But other than that, just chill. Just chill. There's not really, it could be exciting. It could not be, but whatever, just chill.
There you go.
So I'm interested to see, Matt and I were talking before the show, the American Express Platinum and Business Platinum seem on the surface to be basically the same card. But there are a lot of key differences of why some people really like the Platinum and some people really like the Business Platinum. The credits, certain rebates, and things like that really make you go one way or another. There's very few people who it actually fits well to have both. There are some people who do, but there are less people that actually fits well to have both. So I'm interested to see if it's more like that or if it's just business is on one card and not on another. And they're virtually the same. The Sapphire Preferred and the Ink Preferred are very similar cards. There are some differences, but they're very similar cards. So I'm interested to see how different they are and if one reserve is head and shoulders over the other and they're just rolling out a business card. Maybe the maybe the Premier goes away and this is a replacement for that card because that is a very weird card in a very weird place. So getting rid of the Ink Premier would make sense with this, right? If you're going to do this, get slash the Premier, this replaces it, and then you have the Preferred, the Cash, and the Business? No, the Unlimited for the inks. So I'm interested to see what they do. At least they dropped it before we recorded, which is always appreciated.
Yes.
But after I put myself out there, and I'm not gonna get
But they did it because you put yourself out there, so one cannot exist without the other.
Yeah. That's not how the box works, RJ.
I'm sorry. Apparently it is, Lonnie.
Yeah. So speaking of credit issuers who decided to wait until after we finished recording Stack Your Points, Capital One last week put out an email to all of its Venture X holders mentioning changes that are coming to the Venture X. Starting on February 1st of 2026, holders of the Capital One Venture X will no longer be able to bring guests into Capital One lounges or Priority Pass lounges that are covered by the Venture X. You can bring back reactivate guests by three methods. One, pay $35 a pop at Priority Pass lounges for each guest. Two, pay $45 for adults and $25 for children between the ages of 2 and 17 at Capital One lounges and Capital One landings. Three, spend $75,000 on the card and get 2 guests back on your card. There's also another way of just activating your authorized users. Now, they did also announce that authorized users will no longer get privileges into the lounges without paying a $125 fee. You can still have 4 authorized users, but you have to pay $125 for each user if they would like to go back into the lounges. They will lose their lounge privileges. You have no guests. And the authorized users don't get the ability to get into the lounge without you paying a usury fee. There's been varying opinions across the board. I know none of us currently hold the Venture X. Lonnie, you have no interest in the Venture X, I know. I look at Capital One a little sideways and ask, how you doing, pal? Do you still have more 0% balance transfer offers for me? Otherwise, I don't really care. And RJ, you used to hold the Venture X.
I did, and then I held the venture, and then I held no Capital One cards at the moment.
Now, the math on this that I have done, I have a family of three. And for me, if I had the Venture X, I would either have to spend $75,000 a year on the Venture X, which I'm not doing that. I could get an authorized user card for my partner and activate that, and they would get $125. I would pay $125 for that on top of the $395 that I pay for the card, and then they would get access to the regain access to the lounges. But then I have my little one that I'd have to worry about. Or I could get them a full-fledged Venture X and they pay the $395 fee. Now we're out $700 before recouping our value back with the Capital One portal and the 10,000 anniversary points, but you're still paying $395 a pop. Let's just keep it on the level. You're paying $395 a pop. I could do that and then pay $125 for my little one, which I don't like the idea of doing that either. So like Capital One basically just flipped the bird to families. Solo travelers are coming out pretty good. Couples are hurting because now the card is a $520 annual fee, and families forget it, is the way I've broken this down.
So, a little inside baseball. In our document that we use to put the show together, the news roundup for this just says Capital One says families are stupid because that's how it feels, right? Like, I do a lot of solo travel. So, if I were to still hold this card and use the lounges that they have, nothing would change for me. And I have other cards to get me into lounges. So if I was traveling with family or friends or anything like that, I have other options. I'm always going to be flying Delta, so there's almost always a Delta lounge, right? So it wouldn't super impact me. The problem is twofold. There are companies that their users expect to pay for certain things. American Express, I will always say what you're getting with American Express. If you're signing up for the Platinum card, your annual fee is $695, and then every authorized user you pay a fee for. Not after the first two, not after the first one. From jump, you're paying that annual fee. And you know that. Delta Reserve, same thing, right? Other companies don't have that baked into who they are. Chase doesn't, right? Like you have a what, 550 right now and a $95 annual fee on their direct cards. So there's a gap there, right? Like you can just hold the CSP and get most of the value unless you're heavy into the portal. And then it is a slight downgrade, but you still are getting value. But Capital One doesn't have that, right? Even the people who are holding the Venture X, because of the $300 travel credit and the 10,000 point on the bonus for the anniversary, like they're not used to paying for extra or paying for more or paying for other the way that, frankly, American Express has conditioned us to if you're heavy into Amex. And I know what I'm getting into. Like, I am not blind to American Express's ways, but I went in knowing this, right? They have a history of this. This is who they are as a company. You pay in, but you can get some pretty good value on the back end. So it all comes out in the wash. But the problem with Capital One doing this, quote, out of the blue, is their users aren't. And it's not just a you and one dependent under 18, and then you got to pay for your partner, right? Like in Matt's example, like the 5-year-old is left out in the lobby if he and his partner both have Venture X's. That's
Me and the
not,
5-year-old, because yeah,
but my point is
yeah,
two people have access, one doesn't. The one that doesn't have access is five. This is a slight problem because Matt really doesn't want CSP called on him, a whole different CSP, by the way, or CPS, sorry. Doesn't want them called on him while Matt is in the airport because his 5-year-old has gone to Aunt Annie's and destroyed every pretzel in sight. Not what Matt wants to do when he's traveling. And Matt, I'm picking on you because your kid's 5 and Lonnie's is not. So you're getting the brunt of that. But
fine.
I but here's my thing is I do wonder like If somebody goes to the Capital One Lounge and they have a little baby in their arms, like at what point are the Capital One people going to be like, no, you got to pay for the 9 week old? I do wonder, is Capital One, because that's training, right? Because right now it's free for guests. So that is some training. So it's going to be interesting as people, because we all know this has changed, right? And the card holders get an email, but there's a lot of people who hold the Venture X that travel once a year, twice a year, and they're not going to know until they show up, right? This is a card that has a wide range base to it. So I'm very interested when that mother with 5 kids shows up to the lounge, how this goes, or father or whoever, but you bring a bunch of kids with you because this is what you've always done, how things change. So, as the show notes say, Capital One says families are stupid.
Yeah. Now, just for the record, children 0 to 2 still remain free. Children 2 to 17, you got to pay for.
Okay, but and I asked this because when I flew when I was 18 months old, they had to show my birth certificate because they didn't believe that I was 18 months old.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
how detailed are we getting for, because children under 2, if you're going internationally, you'll have a passport, but it's going to be fun the first time somebody goes full, like the videos coming out of the Cap One lounges are going to be interesting.
Yeah, and the argument was that this is supposed to reduce crowding, crowding, crowding is the right word, not clutter, crowding in the lounges. I don't believe for a second this is going to reduce any crowding in the lounge. American Express did the exact same thing 2 years ago. Centurion lounges still have wait times. Like it's not a question of, to me, it's not a question of restrictions will create people getting rid of the cards. People are going to keep the cards. People want the lounge access. People are going to wait for the lounge. It's not going to reduce crowding one iota.
But it might get people who don't really travel to cancel the card or downgrade the card and make Venture X's numbers look better on paper for a company who just bought Discover and might really want to make shareholders happy. So there's a lot of reasons Capital One might have done this other than just the money from those fees. So I think this is more of a wait and see, but I think the more I think about it, the less I like it.
Yeah. Open more lounges. And yeah. Anyway. Lonnie, did you have any final thoughts here?
No, I'm going to go on a completely separate rant about Capital One if I jump in here. So I'm going to go ahead and bow out of this one.
That's fair. They don't like us, Lonnie. We have families that don't like us.
I don't like them.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, we'll jump into our topics, and we're gonna kick off actually with Lonnie's topic because we do have a question that's backed into it. So, Lonnie, your topic for the week.
Oh, I get to go first again? Man, dear
Yeah.
Penthouse Forum, let's do this. Anyway, so debit
It's a
card.
weird way to go.
Showing some age there.
I'm showing some. I shouldn't have been paying attention to some of my parents' stuff.
So debit cards are starting to get rewards. And I would even say some pretty good ones and more often. So Amex has, if you have an Amex checking account, you get half a point per dollar or 1 point for every $2 you spend on a debit card, and that's membership reward points. PayPal has a pretty strong 5-back choose your own category debit card as well. With these credit card refreshes and this credit card recession happening, not my term, but one that I hear often, do you see debit cards starting to make a comeback or gaining an edge in a sense? So where using PayPal and their 5% cash back, we talk about cashback cards and you go get this card and get X% back. Well, now I can just go get a PayPal debit card, doesn't hit my credit report, and I'm getting cash back on one specific category that I want, whether it be grocery or gas or shopping or whatever. So do you think debit cards are going to start making a comeback, or are they starting to gain an edge? RJ, I'm going to kick this one off to you first.
I think the people who are likely to use debit cards with any frequency are likely to hit these up. But I think most of us in the credit card community don't like debit cards for reasons that the rewards aren't going to change. Right? If my debit card is taken and somebody is able to use it, or somebody's PIN is written, I know somebody who has their PIN written on their debit card. They are I've begged them to remove it. And they will not because I don't know. At this point I have had so many conversations with them and I still don't know why it's there. So you do you, bro. But if that money is gone, right? If I say I didn't take that money out of that ATM, it's very hard for me to ever see that money again. Where if somebody takes my platinum card and goes to Dubai and is shopping and I report that to American Express, I am reasonably sure that those charges will be removed. Can never be 100% sure, right? Like weirder things have happened. Reddit is full of examples, but I have reasonable protections of that. So that doesn't change just because the card has rewards, right? That is not something that is changeable based on just the card having rewards. So I think it's good for people who want to use debit cards. For people either they had bankruptcy issues or they just don't trust themselves with credit cards or they can't get a credit card that they want. I think these are good options. I think even people who I have the Amex rewards checking account. I have a debit card in my backup wallet. If I needed it, it's there, but it's not something that I would reach for outside of a very narrow set of circumstances, right? So I think for most of us in the credit card community, it's not where we're going to focus. Even the cashback people, I think there are safer options based on the credit card protections that we'll tend to lean towards, but it is another tool in the toolbrush, right? There's the lasso tool in most image editing things. You don't use that tool unless you really need that tool, right? That is a very specific use case, but nothing else is going to do what that tool will do. So some of these debit cards, nothing is going to do what they will do. So it's a very specific tool in the toolbox, but it's not one you're going to use a lot or not one most people will use.
Cool. So, Matt, your favorite debit card?
That thing. The CSP of debit card. No, I'm kidding. It's really the Citi Custom Cash of debit cards because the only reason why anybody's talking about that debit card is it takes the Citi Custom Cash model and just doubles it. Okay, cool. $50 versus 25, but 25 can be moved to transfer partners if you want to. Anyway, before I go on that, we did have another question that I wanted to kind of like layer into this, and this came from Sliced Diced 314, who had asked, could you please do pro con cashback debit cards, examples the PayPal debit card, the Future debit card versus traditional cashback credit cards? What are best practices to utilize them given they're riskier and in their view temporary in terms of potential rewards and existence? I do think we're seeing a little bit of a resurgence of some points earning debit cards, and the only reason why this is becoming the case is going back to the Durbin Amendment back in the Dodd-Frank bill, where institutions with assets less than $10 billion could still do full debit card rewards. We've had the ability to do extra rewards on debit cards for a couple of years. Like I've had a Stash account for a while. Stash has their Stash back debit card. You can get stocks in various companies that you purchase from. I haven't used it because while like the idea of getting cash back for like getting more stock in some companies that I buy from is appealing, I haven't done it because it's a debit card. There's the Acorns debit card, does the same thing. Robinhood has a debit card that you can also get like additional stock, and stock is probably better bang for your buck or better value than some of these other cards like the PayPal card or one membership reward or half a membership reward per dollar spent, or the future debit card, which is like the most interesting of them because you can get like your MTA in New York City, all of those can get paid back like within a day when they run their 100% cash back on New York City subway systems. I think they do the same thing with the LA Metro. So like debit cards, there are debit cards with reward structures that are certainly interesting, and we're seeing a bit of a resurgence for them. Again, the biggest con is always going to be there's no recourse if something happens to that debit card. Like your stash account, like whatever money you have in your stash account can get drained. And God help you if they turn your stash card into logging into your stash account and then draining your stash account, the stock side of things. Your PayPal, they could get that and get all of that. Your Amex, now you're talking about your money with Amex, right? So that is always going to be the biggest thing. Are there fears of a credit card recession? Yes. Do I know where to gauge that? No. Credit is a very specific tool. Credit has very specific rules, and credit has very specific protections. A lot of us, I can't say that all of us, but a lot of folks in the credit card game are more than likely in it for those protections, in it for the flexibility of when you pay. Because with debit, the other thing is that money right there. If you've got $58 left in your checking account and you pay $70 on the stashback card, you're paying an overdraft fee. That's more than the $70 purchase. Was that really where it was getting like 4% stock back at Nike worth paying an overdraft fee? I wouldn't say so. So a lot of us who take to the credit card side of things go for protections, go for fraud, limited liability, go for just having the ability to pay to pay their credit card bill when their credit card bill is due because they know that they're going to be good for it. Debit's great, and if you have the ability to debit and build out rewards that way, cool. It's nice that you're getting more options. If you're somebody who lives the debit life, awesome. I'm glad that your checking account is far larger than mine, but I can't always rely on that because you don't want to be stuck in the situation where you got $58 left and you make a $70 charge because you weren't paying attention. So I do think that I think that they're seeing a resurgence. I don't know if they're gaining an edge, but I do think that for the people that they can work for, they've got plenty of options and opportunity.
Yep, I would agree with both of you, but I would add one more thing, and that's to be fully inclusive here. But what about those folks out there that might not be 18 or have a 500, 600 credit score? It still gives some of the reward, some of the cashback options. Now, will it ever be anything like a true rewards credit card? No, but it's something. It helps subsidize something, whether it be cashback or points, depending on which ecosystem you want to go with. It helps subsidize something. And I think if you are a novice, someone just getting in, or someone that just is not capable to get into the rewards game, like I said, because your credit score is not great enough to get approved for a good card that could allow some of the joys that we have, I think then yes, these types of debit cards could be a good solution.
I think for those regaining credit, there's certainly something to be said for sticking to a budget, like having that budget for themselves and sticking to that budget and making sure that they have the money to pay for the thing, which is good. I just don't know if they stick to debit cards and they never get past debit cards and trying to get like a secure credit card or secure loan or starting to do the things like they learn to budget with a debit card really good, but then they're stuck there because they didn't look at credit options and ways to rebuild, like the next steps in rebuilding their credit. I do think that I'm not going to say that there's a rewards trap there. That's a silly thing to say, but I do think that they could, there's a potential that they just hamstring themselves to just sticking with that debit. And if they do and they never hit rock bottom again, cool, right? We're not here to judge anyone on any particular thing that they end up doing. As for teenagers and those who can't get a credit card just yet, there again, a very valid point. I do think that at least when it comes time for my little one, like teaching them about credit is going to be pretty important. But I know that not everyone takes that approach. So yeah, being able to budget that way and learning how to budget and getting rewards for following your budget is a plus. But we got to keep adding arrows to that quiver at some point.
There's another group that we didn't super touch on, and I know this is crazy to say on a podcast about credit cards, but not everybody wants a credit card. Like,
True.
there are people, like my best friend hates the fact that I made her get a credit card. And I made her get a credit card because I wanted her to have a credit score. Because she doesn't have a car loan, house is paid off, all of that, right? She has nothing that would pull a credit score. So I made her get a credit card after having her be an authorized user on one of my cards for a while to jumpstart things to be able to get her a card. Like, she has zero interest. If I gave her the option between a debit card that gave her rewards or the credit card that she currently has, she would take the debit card every time because she likes that model better. She humors me by having a credit card and a credit score, so if something happens, she's not completely SOL, right? There are people like her. People who grew up, they didn't have any debt, but their parents did or their grandparents did, and they just have no interest in credit cards, or they just never had an interest in credit cards, right? And I do think that this is a good option for them. Do I think using credit, like you were talking about, Matt, is important? Yes. But this is still something that is not a requirement for life, right?
Yeah.
You can get by in life without credit cards. You can get by in life with budgeting. I've come from farm country. I know somebody who saved, his father saved $327,000 to build a house because he was not going to take out a loan. He was not going to have any sort of credit. It was in the bank. And he paid for, I'm sure, hundreds of trips to Lowe's for all of the supplies to build the house from a normal checking account. Because I'm in farm country and people don't always trust banks here. So there are people for who this might be an option. This is probably the best group of people to have this option, right? Is people who are just not interested in credit cards, don't care, maybe they don't even have a credit score because it's just not what they want. So that group, I do think this is a very good option for, but for most people, probably not.
They're going to be flying a lot of Spirit Airlines and staying in a lot of Wyndhams.
But
Upcoming debit cards as well.
also, a lot of these people don't travel.
There's
They
that.
might do one vacation a year. So does it really matter if you're doing a road trip and you stay at a Wyndham? No, you're probably going to stay roughly equivalent to that anyway.
That's true.
Not everyone is us. I know that's shocking for our listeners to hear, but the travel community is not the majority of people on this earth.
If anyone is shocked that they aren't one of us, then we have a very large problem.
Been doing this nearly a year. Yeah. In this case, we're not like them. All right. So thanks, Alani. I'll do my topic, which is what's your approach for applying for a card and how do you approach it? Do you research benefits, point utilization deeply, like how far your points are going to go, what your exit strategy for these points are going to be, where they're going, how you're utilizing them? Or do you just go for a welcome offer? Or do you take some sort of hybrid approach? RJ, you most recently just applied for a card on a whim. So what's your approach?
I applied for a card because of peer pressure. Your peer pressure specifically. My 524 was so high, it was 1-2. That was I was 12 of 24 and somehow I still got the card. But no, my usual strategy, my actual strategy is I look at where do I have a gap in my setup, right? Do I not have a benefit I want? Do I not have a category that's super important to me that I don't have covered well? Something like that, right? And I look to see what I can put there that will cover that gap. Now, for me right now, there are not many gaps in the system of which I need any sort of card for, perks wise or categories wise. So right now it would be probably a sub, right? Like the IHG card was a card I wanted anyway. It just happened to have a really good sub with it right now. So the business green was 100% about the sub. That card will be gone the minute I can get rid of it. Even if I can upgrade it to a business gold, the business gold will then be gone the minute I can, just because not a card that I need, but the sub was really nice. So, as of right now and going forward, my process for applying is going to be, is this better or does it make my life better than what is currently in my lineup? Because if it's just a lateral move, if it's not, if we're talking about a pawn versus a queen or a knight, then the pawn is not going to win. If it's a 3% bump in my overall life on a scale of 1 to 100, 3% is not getting us there. We get into 30, 40% better. Now we have something to talk about. So it's going to be really hard to get me to apply for cards coming up. As much velocity as I have had in the last 12 to 18 months, it's going to be really hard to get me to apply for something coming up. Mostly because the companies are all going to tell me no. But outside of that, just my setup is really solid right now. So when your setup is solid, unless you're sub hunting, it's really hard for a card to make you actually want to apply. So that is where I am right now.
Nope, that definitely makes sense. Lonnie, your approach.
Yeah, Matt, I think you're the one person that's not me that knows my approach better than anyone. But I research and then I research it again. And then I literally, and this is not me trying to say I don't need it, but I try to talk myself out of it. And if I can talk myself out of it, i.e., I don't find value, I don't find an extra benefit, I don't find a way that it can enhance a specific aspect within my travel setup or my travel journey or my travel experiences. If I can find that, then I might talk myself out, and not necessarily talk myself out of it. It's, oh, I don't necessarily need it. But if I can't, then it definitely adds something in which I can use. And so for me, when I'm thinking of getting a new card, there's multiple ways of looking at it. Bonus categories, time of year. This is just makes sense. Longevity. Longevity is a huge one for me. I'm not someone that wants to just get a card and then turn it 12 months later, plus a day, or even 24 months later. I want it for a reason and I want it for the long haul. As one, it just becomes part of my everyday travel experience. And at the current moment, I have, excuse me, I have multiple cards that hit different aspects of, this is the card that I use to take to Lyft to get to the airport. This is the card that I don't really need to check in with a credit card anymore, but I used to have to check in with a credit card to make sure I got my free check back. Then this is a card that I use at the airport because it may have previously got me money off at a priority pass restaurant, or this card gets me into these lounges, maybe this X lounge or Y lounge or Z lounge. This card also might give me 25% off on food and drinks in flight or at the lounge or whatnot. And now we're at my destination. This is the card that's going to make sure I have status for the rental car. This is the one that's going to give me the most bonus categories for the rental car. Maybe have the best insurance for the rental car. Maybe it's the gas card for said rental car. This is the one that has the status at the hotel. Or I use something like FHR and I double dip both of these cards so I can get the best benefit at said hotel. And so I know me so well that it has to be able to fit into there. There has to be a gap that's not something that's not being answered. And like I said, it could be status, it could be an experience, it could be a discount, it could be a bonus category. But if I can't find that value in it, if I can talk myself out of it, then I know I don't need it. But if I can not find a reason to say no to it, then I know it's a card that will provide me value for the long term. And it might sound cliche, but I've said this before, I've never canceled a card. Why? Because I go, I am so methodical in how I approach applying for a new card that all of them seem to work. And then as I mature and my travel experiences grow, my finances grow to help support some of those travel experiences. Now my credit cards can also help support that growth in experiences as well. But I'm not just going to get a card because oh, I like the way this one looks. Or, man, that had a really great sign up bonus on it. Man, there's a really great sign up bonus 12 times a year.
Yep.
I'm not getting a card every time a great sign up bonus comes out. There's no need. I don't need to chase a sub because, once again, going back to just longevity, one, use the card as intended will always be the safest bet. That'll help keep your credit score up. Just use the card as intended. That keep points flowing into you. But I also want to make sure that it's not a smash. Well, there's nothing wrong for smash and grab. You know how I feel about those, but it's not just a 1 year stand. Just I got this for the sake of getting it, and it's literally a swipe and dump card. We're not doing that. At least I'm not doing that.
Right.
I did it for my business green. I don't regret the 25,000 Amex points. I regret I have to look at this card in my Amex app every time I open that app every day for the next 300 plus days.
No,
Just
and
a
I'm not saying anything wrong about that. It's a great example, RJ, because as most people know, I don't have the green card. I have gold and platinum when it comes to 3 charge cards from Amex, but I don't have the green. And I went straight to the gold, so I'm not qualified for a green welcome offer anymore. But it's only 40K points. And one of the things outside of 3x travel through Amex, which of course I get 3x travel with my CSR for now, depending on what's coming summer 2025, that would be like the only thing I miss. And like I said, if I can talk myself out of that, then yeah, I can live without it. But the other aspect is the 40K points. What else does it offer me? The Lounge Buddy, didn't really need it because it's like priority pass to me. Clear credit, I got that on 3 different cards now. And so everyone has clear. My son doesn't need it, so I actually got clear from my mother-in-law. Global entry, same as priority pass. I think I still have 2 more cards that don't have it. I'll sell it to somebody for $50 if you want global entry. So it just doesn't make sense for me to have the green card, but most importantly, that 40K. It's always 40K on the green card. I've never seen it higher than 40K. It might have been, I don't know. But there's other ways to get 40K MR points without me having to sign up for the card. So I'm not shooting you down, RJ, for whatever decision that you made, but using that as an example, not the business, but the personal green card is one of the reasons why I don't have it. Like, I can get 40K without having to get the card.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
I still think the personal green is, if you're not into co-brand cards, I think the personal green is a great card for Amex.
I
This is not the card for, but you have a very different methodology for this than the green card.
I don't disagree with you. If I look at my credit card Excel sheet, the one that I put like all my annual fees and what I use for what on there, the green card is actually on that Excel sheet in bold red letters because it could work if I just wanted to go full Amex. If I'm like, I got enough Chase points, I don't need to touch any of my Chase cards. I just go use my Amex card. The green could work, but I don't see it, especially without, well, sign up bonus aside. I don't need it. I can fill in those gaps with something else, which means I can skip over that application, which I'm probably in pop-up jail anyway.
Your last breakout may have disappointed some people. Speaking of a card that needs a refresh, Green card doesn't need refreshed categories, needs refreshed credits and a refreshed welcome offer.
Even if the standard welcome offer didn't change, like they need to do what they do with the gold and the platinum and several times a year have an elevated one. Because I
Yes.
think if more people gave that card a chance, it would be a really good card for them. But people don't give it a chance because of the welcome offer.
I don't give it a chance because I'm silly.
Amex is also not your first thought when it comes to
No,
cards. So you
no,
may not be the best judge
not at all.
of the Amex lifestyle, Matt.
No, because I look at the Amex green card and I go, yeah, but I got all of that for no annual fee on my autograph card, even though I know that you'll tell me Wells Fargo transfer partners aren't nearly as good as Amex transfer partners. Yes, but all of those categories are things that I need and I get gas. But anyway, so for me, process for applying for a card, I will research benefits and point utilization. I don't go deep on it, but I will research and try to answer the question, where does this fit? How does this fit? Is this even a good fit? I like to stay at Hilton's. I like Hilton's. So a Hilton card of some sort makes the most amount of sense. I wasn't sure how much I liked Hilton's when I applied for the Hilton Honors card. I was going after that just for the sub, but I was getting a free night certificate and 70,000 Hilton points. And I went with the no annual fee card so that if I didn't want to pursue Hilton's any further, I was out no money. Like I wasn't paying for the Surpass, I wasn't paying for the Aspire, and being disappointed and then having to cancel like a 550, or at the time I would have applied, it would have been 450, but now it's a 550 annual fee. No, that doesn't make sense. I like to mitigate risk as best I can. When it came to JetBlue, I was tending my chase marketing status because everybody at some point makes chase marketing status the only thing that they worry about. And so I went for the business card, but the business card fit with what I wanted to do because it would give me that 10% redemption back. It would give me the free check bags that I wanted. I could get check bags for companions on my reservation. I got 50% off in-flight purchases. So like the business card made a lot of sense and it was a good welcome offer for me. So now it's a question of what cards fit where. And Lonnie, if the card doesn't fit, like how do I absolutely need it? And a lot of card welcome offers have come and gone. I have been very interested in some things. Like the only one that really tempts me is the double cashback everything on the Freedom Unlimited because it is the perfect guardian card. Like you get that card, you do not have to worry about it for anything for a year. Like you just run everything through that card. If you're not traveling, if you're not worried about welcome offers, if you just need like a card to chill out for a year, that welcome offer is perfect. But that only comes up every so often. So for me now it's a question of like, how does it fit? Where does it fit? Is there a good welcome offer? Because I will go out of my way for a relatively strong welcome offer as long as I can utilize those points. Like elevated ink offers right now, I would be going after elevated ink offers. Looks like there's going to be a new ink card or a new Chase business card. The spend on it, I think, is going to be absurd. So I don't know if I can make that work for myself. But that is now something I'm going to be looking at when that card is officially announced. So it's just a question of like, how does the card fit? Where does the card fit? If it doesn't fit, I don't go after it. There are tons of really good cards out there. The Aeroplan card is a great card. It doesn't fit what I want to do. Do I have the Aeroplan card? No. As JetBlue and United potentially, like if JetBlue and United eventually merge, like a United card will make sense for me to get. Until that happens, I can get by with the JetBlue card. Now, I may be more inclined to get a United card just in case there's interesting value with that relationship that I could further extract with a United card. I don't know if there is, and we'll have to find out, but I have the ability, like I'm more open to a United card now than I was 6 months ago because of this change in relationship, especially between United and JetBlue. If it's something that can make my flights better overall over time, I'm going to I'm going to look into that and potentially pursue it. So, yeah, I think I like to, I would want to say I take a hybrid approach, but like I'll research if there's a welcome offer that's tempting and it fits, great. But I don't go out of my way to smash a welcome offer. I'm not going out of my way to smash a welcome offer anytime soon. I did that with the Blue Business Plus because American Express contacted me and was very adamant that I was pre-approved for the Blue Business Plus and found out what the credit line I would get. And I got an elevated welcome offer on that by about 10,000 points. And so I was like, all right, I'll grab that because I can use those points elsewhere. Am I going to be doing that anytime soon? I don't think so. So, yeah, I took a pretty big research, but I don't research to Lonnie's extent. I do not have plan A, plan B. I do not have plan A, plan C, alternate plan B, and then wondering if there's ever a card that would make me consider a plan D.
So
I
we
can
have the
play
small,
Scrabble
medium,
with
and
my
large
plans.
approach.
Yeah.
Well, I at the same time, not to justify my statement, but credit cards are an investment in multiple levels. And
Yeah.
so I don't want to, like a real investment in the stock market, you don't want to make a bad bet.
Yeah.
It happens, and it's okay if it does. I know plenty of people that have gotten a card, including myself, that have gotten a card. And it's like, why do I have this? Why did I get this? And I've talked about that first student card that does nothing for me still to this day, except for help my credit report. It does literally nothing else, and they won't cancel it. RJ, who do I gotta call? They won't. They
I
just
mean,
won't.
call them and say, "Can you please cancel this card?" And they'll cancel it.
Nah, I would probably just be like, "What's the $0 cashback card?" I'll see if I could just product change it to that.
Blue
And I
cash every
still
day.
wouldn't. Yeah, and I still wouldn't use the damn thing.
There you go.
It is
But
a
it's an
very nice looking card, though. The Blue Cash Every Day is a very nice looking card.
I haven't even seen it. Maybe I'll look it up. But it's an investment. So just you don't want to throw your money into any type of investment venture or the stock market without doing your research or making sure that you can get a good return on there or value back from it. That's also the way that I look from it. And that's why I don't mind paying over $3,000 a year. That's almost $300 a month if I were to break my annual fees down every for 12 months. That's almost $300 a month. But when I think of it, for me, that's worth it. And I know for a lot of people, someone would be like, damn, you're crazy. You're right. And I probably am. I'm not going to take away from that. But I get $300 a month, period. I get $3,000 a year in value and experiences and upgrades and whatever you want to call it, credit back, credit statements, all that stuff. So it has to be able to work for me to fit into that large of an investment, which is super important because I spend so much money on it, for me to be able to hit that apply button and say, okay, you can come join my club.
No, that's fair. RJ, your topic, and then we'll wrap things up.
So, this is a little bit inside baseball, but I think it can be applied to people overall. Because if you're in the credit card community, if you're thinking about credit cards a lot, you have to separate what interests you for your personal self and what is interesting in the space. So I wanted to ask both of you, we all have our likes and dislikes, but there's news that doesn't personally touch our strategy or us, but is interesting, right? Like I find the CSR news interesting. I am almost certainly never going to have a CSR. I have to talk about it on this podcast, lives, in the chat. I have to know this information to be able to be a member of this community and have any ability to talk about it. We all have this, right? And some things we bow out of and some things we don't. But you have to keep at least some semblance of a finger on a pulse of the sort of space at large, right? If you didn't know Capital One bought Discover, that's a hard road to go to have credit card conversations, right? So, Lonnie, I'm going to go to you first. How do you put that firewall up? How do you navigate things that don't personally touch you, but you have to know to be a good steward in the credit card community? How do you handle all of that?
It's just my credit card response to Apple WWDC today? Do I need
Apparently.
to be able to justify that? Like, it's well, I'll put it like this because you already mentioned Capital One. So I don't have Capital One, never had a Capital One card, not interested in one. Sorry, Matt, I don't have a Wells Fargo card, not interested in one. Right? But the thing is that just because it's not for you doesn't mean that you shouldn't pay attention. One, paying attention can be your crystal ball to what's coming down on the pipeline because when one makes ripples, something else makes waves. And what I mean when I say that is we know for a fact that these credit card companies watch YouTube and they pay attention into what's trending, what's the word on the street, and they use us as credit card creators and the broader community to be like, hey, this is looking really positive, or this is not looking really positive, which is why we'll hear rumors. And then that's not officially what happens later because they probably changed it. They're like, yo, this is bad. We see Built do it quite often. Matt, we don't need to go in there, but Built does. They do. They listen and then they adjust. We know that.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, if we go back to Capital One and this whole lounge thing, now, granted, it could change before the official effective date because look at people are on YouTube saying, I have Capital One, it's over. I'm going to cancel my card when that time comes up. And they might call your bluff, to be completely honest, be like, all right, let's just see what happens. And then if they get a influx of people canceling, when is it? February, I think. When they get a influx of people canceling come February or when their accounts roll over, they'll be like, hey, maybe we should go back to the drawing board because this is hurting our business. But the other thing is look at their competitors. What if Chase, for example, was going to be like, yo, we're going to do the exact same thing. And they're like, yo, that did not work out well for Capital One. We're not doing that. We're not doing that at all. Competitors steal from each other all the time. Look at what Southwest Airlines used to be and what they are today, how they started and where they are today. And that came from keeping up with the Joneses and competition, stealing what works and getting rid of what doesn't. Look at what Chase is doing compared to Amex, stealing what works, getting rid of some things that have not worked. And so to answer your question, RJ, I don't necessarily think it's, even if you're not interested or it's not for you, that you can 100% not at least pay attention. You should at least be in the know. If you want to be a discerning user, consumer in this space, you should at least know. And to the point of, like I said, Capital One is not a bad card. Ventrex, that is. It's not a bad card. It's just not the right good card for me. It's not a good card for Lonnie. I can give you a list of pros about that card that have nothing to do with me, but could be great for someone else. And I think that's what's the most important aspect is just paying attention. And for me, it's always paying attention to the competition because Capital One might not be an Amex, it might not be a Chase, but that doesn't mean just because one person tilts their head up to see who's above them that someone else can't tilt their head down and see who's below. Yo, we might be in spot number 2, but person in number 5 is now number 4. What are they doing before they take our spot over? You know what I mean? And so it's one of those types of things. The credit card companies are doing it. They're paying attention. Talked about Built 2.0. Where's 2.0 at? Why? Because they're still paying attention, baking it out so that they have a competitive edge in this space. They came out strong. They can come out strong in the second half, Matt. They can. I have faith. I'm not going to say I'm not going to put my last dollar in Vegas on it, but they can.
So you're not going to be the FedEx founder and just bet the company one night.
If I see Ankar in Vegas, I know things have gotten rough.
Yup. I do find it funny. They're sitting there redesigning Build 2.0. How do we make sure Matt doesn't yell at us again?
Honestly, a lot of credit card companies would be better off if their question they asked before putting out a product was, how do we not get Matt Clausen to make a video about us yelling?
JetBlue,
That's a
Barclay.
badge of honor. That's a badge of honor, Matt.
Yeah. I do find it funny if Richard's watched my stuff and has been like, yo, why is he so pissed?
Oh, I'm pretty sure I ruffled some feathers over at Bill, but I'm going to be there. I
Yeah.
don't work for them,
No.
and I have a responsibility as a creator and as a human being. I have the right to speak my opinion and my truth. So,
Oh, yeah.
but the whole double dip rent thing / mortgage thing, it's a good deal, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. If y'all aren't taking advantage of that, is a good deal.
Make hay while the sun shines. All right. So how do you separate personal goals from in the credit card game from giving advice and having an interest in credit card community? I have made my niche outside of the podcast just being like the news guy. Like I'm not here to dole out card advice. I'm not here to tell you how to optimize your setup. I'm not here to tell you like all the ins and outs and how to squeeze every last penny out of your credit card habit. I'm here to just tell you, yo, Virgin just dropped their credit card and they just put a 60,000 point welcome offer on it. It's through Synchrony. Do with that what you will, but here's the new Virgin card. This is what I can tell you. Here's the latest from Chase. Here's my, and then I will give you opinion based on what I think is happening or looking at the sphere in general and just kind of piecing together as best I can. That's speculation station. But tidbits, it's just news. It's just what I see is what you get, and I pepper in my opinion along the way. I do think that in the community, you have your personal goals and like you can, I keep my personal goals relatively under wraps, especially on the channel. But in the Discord, yes, I will talk about what cards I'm looking at, how I'm looking to utilize my points, but it's not like a, because I'm doing this, you have to follow my lead. I never take the approach of come with me, I know better, because I don't. I can tell you all things about current cards. Like I'm well versed on what's happening with cards. I can tell you that like the Qatar cardless relationship is not going the way Qatar was hoping because they have to keep doing 100,000 point welcome offers on that on those cards. I can tell you the Avianca and cardless relationship is just not going well. I can tell you that cardless right now seems to be struggling based on everything that I'm seeing from the cards associated with them. I can tell you that the JetBlue doesn't have a clue what they're doing in terms of creating a premier experience for their credit cards. Like it looks like they might starting to fix it with this United project, but like when it comes to their cards, the plus card is good, the business card is good, the premier card is terrible. Like I can give advice in terms of what are you looking to do, how are you looking to start, where are you looking to go, what is your end game, what points are your end game. Like I need to book at IHG. Cool. For IHG, you got Chase, you got Built. You can always buy IHG points to pull things together for that final redemption if you have to. IHG points go on sale half a cent per point all the time. Just make sure that you're using top cashback when you're doing that, or using Rove miles, and you can start attacking Rove miles on top of the purchase and getting whatever IHG points you're doing. Like strategy and news and opinion is like the niche that I've garnered for myself. So like I don't look at giving individual advice outside of the Discord, but even then in the Discord, it's a collective thing where here's my 2 cents, but RJ's 2 cents are going to be right there. Lonnie's 2 cents are going to be right there. Goes math is going to be right there. And then there's always the other challenging question and the devil's advocate question. But like that is workshopping an answer to a problem. That's not giving advice and expecting that your advice is the be all end all. So I take my, I take I've created this caricature of myself, the world's biggest Sapphire preferred hater, right? But I'll tell you if the Sapphire preferred is a card that works for you. I'll tell you whether or not 9 times out of 10 it probably isn't. You'll be far happier with the Sapphire Reserve, but
You can get everything on the preferred on
with
the
the build card,
$0 annual fee
yes.
card.
I will bring up the bill card, and I will tell you that I have issues with the bill company, but
You
the
can't get
$50
the
hotel
customer
credit.
service though.
yep. Chase does win on customer service. Do you like talking to people? Do you like having your answer? Do you like having your questions answered? Then Built is not for you. If you like do your own adventure, Built is great. If you are a dungeon master in your spare time or with a group of friends, Built is the card for you. If you like having general answers to questions and being able to contact someone, then go with Chase. But again, like I can separate things pretty easily for me. But I I've also just that's always been like the approach that I've taken since joining this community. It's just been like, there's my personal stuff. Y'all don't need to necessarily know all of it. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I need help with. I'll ask for help. I'll ask for advice, but I don't usually push my personal goals into giving advice because one, I prefer to fly JetBlue. Not a whole lot of people are going to have access to JetBlue. It would be stupid for me to push advice when that's not an option. Two, my hotel options are like Hyatt, Hilton. You want Marriott? I can't help you. I don't like the Marriott program. I can't tell you what a good point value is for Marriott because I'd rather pay for Marriott outside of Marriott because Bonvoy annoys me that much.
Fun fact, I'm staying at a Marriott in the end of June, and I went through the Delta portal for it because I didn't have to deal with Marriott Bonvoy, and that made me so happy.
Wonderful properties, terrible program. So, yeah, I keep that wall pretty well defined, but yeah, can see how it can be clouded sometimes.
No, I appreciate you both. It's an interesting thing, right? Like, we all have our views on something, and then somebody will ask a question, and you have to put on your thinking cap. I will say to anybody who's ever talked to Matt, you will understand very quickly that the Rolodex of information in his head is both terrifying and awe-inspiring in equal measures.
Trust me, I know. Well, thanks, RJ, for that topic. Thanks, Lonnie. And thank you all for listening to this week's episode of Stack Your Points. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up here? Cool. All right. Well, you can find us at stackyourpoints.com. That is www.stackyourpoints.com. We have a new feature there where we just have an ongoing playlist of our videos that drop there. Our videos drop on Wednesdays and Fridays on YouTube. The full episodes in audio form now drop on Saturdays. And we have new mini mailbag on topic days. Topics are going to be on Mondays. Mini mailbags are going to be on Tuesdays, so check those out on the channel, on the YouTube channel. We do a live on Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. Usually it's just RJ and me, but sometimes Tariq will join us, or we have a couple other guests. Lonnie is typically stuck in dad time, but like dad time is sacred, and we will not take away from that. And yeah, just check us out at stackyourpoints.com. You can find all of the resources there, find all the ways to contact us there. We look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.